Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and I am so honored that you have joined me in my Rise Up series, in our Rise Up series, looking at making Jesus famous in every part of our lives. Becoming a generation that sees the need to do life differently, to make those hard decisions, and do something different this year to make Jesus famous in our lives, as I said before. I wanted to go ahead and do a video blog today to share a few things on my heart and in my life that it was just easier to share in person rather than through words, just so you can see my heart and my intention. Um, as we've discussed, I hope that you've gotten a chance to read Psalm 145 because it has really hit my heart in looking at, am I part of this generation that's making Jesus famous? Am I part of proclaiming his name in every part of my life, in every action that I take every day? And I wanted just to quickly remind you before I jump into what's on my heart and what's going on in my life and some encouragement. I have an invitation for you later in this vlog. But I wanted to go ahead and just share a few verses just to remind us back where we are in Psalm 145. Verse 6 says, "This they shall speak of the might of your awesome deeds, and I will declare your greatness. They shall pour forth the fame of your abundant goodness." This is this generation that we hope to be a part of. Skipping over to verse 14, and this is really where it gets into handing over the hard stuff to God and making those tough decisions and seeing how he provides. "The Lord upholds all who are falling and raises up all who are bowed down." We discussed that in a future post, bowing low before the Lord, and he will raise us up. "The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food in due season. You open your hand and satisfy the desire of every living thing. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and kind in all his works. The Lord is near to all who call on him, and to all who call on him in truth." So I mentioned there were a few things in my life that that I feel like are really good examples that I just wanted to share with you, not to make myself look good or not to lift up anything that I did, because this was really the Lord working in my heart. But back at the beginning of the month, one of the first things that I was hesitant to share online because when we're talking about fasts, I went through a fast with my church. We did 21 days. And when we talk about fast, Jesus really says, don't make a big deal about it. Don't do it in public, but do it in private. And the Lord sees your efforts. But I think this really speaks to it because fasting, the idea of fasting is really tough for me. I did a fast with my family. Every night we shut down the TV and we did not watch TV. Now, some of you all might not think this is a big deal, but it's a big deal for us because we love our shows. I have some special shows that I just love to watch. I don't miss, or I, DVR them and collect it all up and spend a whole weekend watching my TV. And it got to the point that I was missing out on some rich time in the evenings to just settle my heart, settle my mind, spend some time in prayer and more Bible study, and just clear out some of the clutter in my life. It was tough. It was hard. It was hard to make that decision at first. I was a little scared. I was like, but what if I miss something good? What if I feel like I'm missing out, or I'm not getting that joy, or so to speak, the joy of watching my TV? So we made the decision, and after a few days, or one special night when my certain TV show that I loved to watch came on, I was like, I just really want to watch my TV. And it was tough. I had to pray through it. I had to make that tough decision and do the hard thing and just leave the TV off and spend some more time with the Lord and just spend some time just in peace and quiet around my house before I went to bed. And I have to tell you that although there were those moments that I was just like, ugh, it's frustrating, God really poured into my life and he showed me some areas that I needed to clean out and some things I needed to do differently going forward. Had I not done that fast, had I not cut out the TV, I wouldn't have had that special time with God for him to show me those things. So that's just one example that I hope that you will see that you can find some areas of doing hard things in your life, making Jesus famous, and letting him provide for you, just as it says in Psalm 145. Before I get into an invitation of what I want to share with you, I hope that you will join in on this, doing the hard things and making Jesus famous. I also want to share that, there's that I'm going through these tough things too, just like the fast. Several months ago, I think back in December, I shared that my company was having layoffs and I had to make a decision. So I stepped away from my job and I'm now in full time ministry and doing full time mommy stuff, of course. But that was really tough because I had been 7 years as a pharmaceutical sales rep. That was my identity. That's just what I did. I took pride in that. And the Lord had really been putting it on my heart for about a year or more now that I needed to step away. And this was finally time. And what's funny is that he opened the door, but it was my decision to step through just for some certain circumstances. And I had been waiting for God to open the door and shove me through. But really this time around, I had to make some tough decisions. I had to look and say, okay, God, I'm trusting you. The finances aren't going to be pretty. There's going to be some things I've got to cut out. And so we made the plunge. I'm really excited to have more time with my ministry work and spending more time blogging and connecting with my readers, with you. So the time and the efforts put towards taking that step and making that hard decision are going to be well worth it. I just know. So these were a couple of examples. Another example from a good friend of mine, a new friend of mine actually. Her name is Sarah too, and she's been reading this Rise Up series, as many of you have, and she's been encouraged to spend more time in her Bible every day. Sarah emailed me and said that she was every year she started out with a new devotional book that maybe she went through for about a month and then kind of backed off of it. She's determined that this year she is going to do something different and spend more time in the Word. And I just love that. So what Sarah is doing, and I'll put a link on my blog so that you can see her journal notes on this. She's committed for 30 days or more, I think actually, to do 30 minutes every day in her Bible, and she's going to blog about it. And so stay tuned because Sarah's going to write a special guest post to put on my blog. So that's just another example, kind of on a different spectrum of things that when we evaluate our life, when we evaluate what's going on and we see that maybe there's some tough decisions to make, that we got to make that step. And I wanted to share with you, Jesus said in Matthew, and this is in the Voice, I've shared this before. In Matthew 11, verse 6, Jesus says, "Blessed are those who understand what is afoot and stay on my narrow path." And then he continues later in verse 28, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Put my yoke upon your shoulders. It might appear heavy at first, but it is perfectly fitted to your curves. Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble at heart. When you're yoked to me, your weary souls will find rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So Jesus talked about this narrow path. I'm wondering if you have something in your life, just as I did. I needed to evaluate and cut out the TV for a time so that God could pour into me. I'm wondering if there's something in your life that you need to make a decision, a tough decision, or do the hard thing. I'm encouraging some of my girlfriends to evaluate your relationships. Maybe you've got a boyfriend where things have gone too far. You're committed to growing in your faith, and you've noticed that your relationship with your boyfriend or your spouse for that matter is not glorifying God. Maybe you've got to cut something out. Maybe it's that you move out. Maybe y'all moved in together and that's not glorifying God. So maybe you need to move out for a time. Maybe you need to cut out that relationship in general. Maybe there's some friends that you feel are kind of toxic. You've got some toxic relationships that are keeping you from growing in your relationship with God and from making Jesus famous in your life. Another example is maybe you've spent some time at work and that you've noticed that your conversations at work are not very enlightening. They're not very uplifting to others. Maybe you've partaken in gossip or you whine a lot or complain a lot at work. So making the hard decisions and doing the tough things in our life can be as simple as, okay, for this week, for today, I'm going to commit not to complain at work. No matter what everybody else is saying, no matter what is dumped on my desk, I'm not going to complain. on a tough end, maybe, like I said, you need to cut off a relationship. Maybe it's that you're going to commit to a more healthy lifestyle. Maybe cut out some drinking on the weekends. Whatever it is, I would like to invite you to do an experiment. My friend Sarah and I, the one who's doing the Bible verses or reading in her Bible for 30 minutes every day, we've decided we're going to call it an experiment because she's taking a set time, and for 30 days, she's going to do this experiment. So I invite you to come up with your own experiment. It doesn't have to be for 30 days. It could just be for one day, or it could just be for a week or a month. But Jesus says to go blessed are those who understand what is afoot and stay on my narrow path. These things are not easy decisions. But Jesus, we can rest assured that Jesus blesses us for staying on that narrow path and not straying from his word, not straying from his presence, and staying on that narrow path. It's not easy. It's not always fun. But we know from the word and we trust that he will bless us. Excuse me, I've got getting over the cold. I'm sure you all are got this stuff too. So anyway, in closing, I know this is a super long video blog as I'm looking at the timer. What are some ways that you can start your own experiment? Leave a comment and tell me what you're going to try out for a week, for a day, for a month, whatever it is. And maybe some of you all would be like my friend Sarah and want to write a guest post and want to and write a guest post for me with your notes and your journaling of how God spoke to you from making that tough decision, trying out that experiment. Be creative, pray through it, and come on back and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you all are doing. Let's start a community. Let's start a group of us that are just committed to doing life differently and making Jesus famous in our lives. So I look forward to hearing from you. And I look forward to blogging more. So be on the lookout and be sure to sign up for my email subscription if you like, or go ahead and join my Facebook community so that you can get our latest updates. All right, girls, have a great day. We'll touch base with you soon. Bye.